Hello, and welcome back to Set the Table. This is episode 7, in which Jack and I are going to talk about alignment. I am John, with me as always is Jack, and
good day.
We're going to talk about alignment in tabletop role-playing games, and how to use that, what it is, and a whole bunch. Probably just talk about it, because it's come up in the past couple of shows, a little bit here and there, particularly around evil characters, and we'll get there, but I think we've got quite a bit of discussion up to that point. But since we have started doing it since last time, we both have played some 5e. Do you want to go first, or shall I?
Oh, I'll go first.
All right.
So I'm playing in a homebrew campaign with my Monday night group, and I'm playing neutral evil bard, and I took a day off because I wasn't feeling well.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get the coronas, but it wasn't the coronas that time. But anyway, so the party in my absence had kind of the opening of Willow kind of moment. A nursemaid with a baby runs by the party. She's being chased by a bunch of baddies. She gives the baby to the party, and then she leads the baddies away.
Okay.
And so the party's like, oh, what do we do with this? And my character's kind of the leader or the brains of the outfit.
You're the high charisma character.
I am the high charisma character.
That's how it works.
So, without me, they were like, my character was actually singing in a speakeasy, bard. She's trying to get connected to the seedy underworld, spaces. So they're like, we're adventurers. We have a rough and tumble lifestyle. Nobody really wants to take care of this baby. Let's just take it to the orphanage. And so then my character comes back and they back brief her on what's happening. And she's like, so did you question the nursemaid? No, she ran away. Did you get a good look at the guys chasing her? Orcs, we don't know. And she's like,
oh no.
So this baby's in the orphanage, and it's potentially valuable to somebody. Like, somebody's willing to chase somebody else for it. Like, what the hell?
Right.
And they're like, well, what do you want with it? It's like, well, so we get it, and it can be a bargaining chip for better, for us. And they're like, well, what if it turns out to be nothing? And it's like, well, there's a brothel down the road. We'll just sell it. And they're like, you can't sell orphans. It's like, yeah, I can.
Dolrea can. Dolrea can sell orphans. Man, my group would have a big problem with her.
Your group sounds like they don't play well with evil characters.
They are. They're trying, right? So I've talked about Connie, my friend James's bard, a little bit. But like, he came from a place of slavery where he like has a pretty firm value that like buying and selling lives is not okay. So for you to sell an orphan, he would what is it? Slap the I don't know. There's some old whatever.
I don't know. But if he messes up her hair, she's got bestow curse on a held action forever.
Wow, that's pretty awesome, though.
You screw with her hair, bestow curse.
Permanent reactions. I should encourage my group to do that, or allow them to do that. Rather, it hasn't come up, but it could. We didn't play our main campaign again this week. This is like the third week in a row that we have missed it. Luckily, we have managed to fill our time with the alts game that we've been playing, and because of my friend who's running that game's schedule, he wasn't able to prep, and didn't want to rush to come Sunday when he found out he didn't have to work and had the time. So I spent almost all of Sunday and a couple hours Saturday when I found out, writing a one shot for my friend James's girlfriend was gonna play D&D with us, and it was going to be, she had role played a little bit before, but it was going to be her first experience with 5e. And so we spent a little time Saturday afternoon making up a character for her, with her. And I got the idea for the hook from her backstory, and then wrote and played an adventure on Sunday. So she was a half elf barbarian. No, she was going to be a barbarian. She ended up going ranger. So she was a half elf ranger and was part of a mercenary guild and had a contract to go meet with this dwarven woman in this dwarven town. And she needed to go. There was an attack within this dwarven woman's mine. She has this gem mine, and they do a like mine your own gems day where you pay a flat fee to go in to the mine and pluck around on your own, and you get to keep what you find, that sort of thing. And they, on one such day, this dwarven woman comes running out of the mine with these large bruisey scratches on her face and her back, and not a lot of blood drawn from them, clothes on the back still torn, but just massive bruises, and she's just shaking and clutching her head and screaming as she runs out, and she's just on the ground shaking, and all she's saying is dark and darkness, sort of one after the other. And the party goes through the mine. There's a shadow demon responsible for it at the end, and it is they didn't catch the hook necessarily because of a couple not so great perception and investigation rolls, but there was a small callback to the main game that we're playing sort of at the end of that game. So that was fun. I like to do stuff like that. Lex, that bard, or not bard, the ranger, had a lot of fun, and it was good. I would love to play our main game though, because I've been itching, but hopefully this weekend.
Cool.
Yeah. I almost wish that I had alt game stuff to talk about, because that would have been a good segue, because I'm playing a chaotic evil Oathbreaker paladin in that. But I also don't want to start right at evil. So if we're going to talk about alignment, and something that you and I often need to do when we start discussions is sort of define the thing that we're talking about. So I'm going to go first, because I had thought about this when I was talking to James about it, and I think I've worked out how I think this is. But I believe that alignment is a piece of a character's moral compass that provides a way to evaluate the causes of their actions. And I think a lot of the time people think that alignment is very one-to-one about a character's morality, but I think it's more about the pairing of the two, and how that answers why they've done the thing that they've done, not what the thing that they've done is or should have been. Yeah. That's more of the philosophical what is alignment. Alignment tends to be a value, a two-word pairing on a spectrum from lawful to chaotic and from good to evil. So you could be with neutral in between all of those. So you could be lawful good, lawful neutral, lawful evil, chaotic good, chaotic neutral, etc., etc.
Right.
So that's me. What is alignment to you?
So for it actually, it's a little bit different between when I'm a player and when I'm a DM.
Okay. Interesting.
Okay. So when I'm a player, I look at my character's alignment as my, like you were saying, your moral compass. Like this is who this character is from a spiritual, ethical, moral, philosophical standing. Okay. and that kind of helps me make decisions as that character, um, as a player. Now, as a DM, I will often use alignments in more of the reactions and reasons for NPCs doing certain things or not doing certain things.
Yeah, it's not
Right?
necessarily what they do, but it's why they've done the thing they've done,
Why they
right?
right.
So
And just to make sure that it's like, okay, the town guard comes into the tavern to break up the fight. It's a lawful good town. They're not coming in with drawn poison swords to murder everybody who started the ruckus, right? They're coming in with clubs and nets, and they're going to arrest and apprehend the troublemakers.
unless that's the law, is that the guards all have poison swords and it's a zero tolerance violence policy, like you. So that's why I use alignment to be the why more than the what, because
Sure.
any guard could do that, but if they are lawful good, then why? Well, that
Right.
must be what the laws are, and that must be the expectation of good. Um, but yes, typically, I think the fantasy worlds that we build, especially those that are part of canons, tend to outline sort of expectations of what good and evil are. So, like 5e, for example, has the angels and the devils. Like that's lawful good and that's lawful evil. Like
Right. And then demons were chaotic evil,
right.
right?
So
Now
I it
that's a certain so I'm thinking Dungeons and Dragons, right?
yeah
Pathfinder, Starfinder. There are a number of games that use this. I always call it the tic tac toe board. It's a 9 by 9 square of alignments, right?
yeah,
The
you've seen the
bingo card.
alignment charts. Everybody knows what those are. If
The
you don't,
I always call it the bingo card.
look up
Um,
alignment chart in Google and you'll
you'll
know
see
what I'm
it.
talking about with that.
Now, other games don't, right?
Yes,
Other
not
games
all
don't
systems have an
have
alignment
an alignment.
system.
Like Alien had a stress mechanic and some goal. So Alien, not the cinematic play, but the campaign play has a like personal goal.
Right, we had that.
And you have rivals and allies and stress. So if you're not operating towards your personal goal and you're not helping out your allies while you're not trying to like be mean or like if you help out a rival, that can create stress. So that's kind of there's no real alignment mechanic in the alien world, but your actions can create or reduce your stress.
Yes.
Call of Cthulhu has a sanity mechanic. So if you do something amoral or something that is outside the social norms for the genre that you're playing,
Hmm.
right? Then you'd make a sanity roll, and then Vampire the Masquerade has humanity, like
Right.
right. So you're struggling with this. I'm a vampire, but I have to kill people. I killed someone who looks like my,
Sister.
girlfriend, sister, whatever, and now I have to deal with a humanity problem. So there are other games treat this differently, and then some games have a much more simplified, like Dungeon Crawl Classic and Mutant Crawl Classic. It's
Yeah.
lawful, neutral, chaotic.
Which is, I almost like that better, but at the same time, it's just a degree of depth that you're looking for in the system that you're playing.
Sure,
Um, but I
and
think that
then
all of these amount to be explaining why people do things that they do.
do what they're doing in the game. Yep,
Yeah,
absolutely.
which helps flesh out a character, because I think without that part, it's it's closer to a video game, and it's just, oh, I roll die, I hit that, I do that, but you're not really there's nothing salient about your character or something that is physically on your character sheet that indicates like, hey, this is sort of a guide for you. Like if you do something, you should be able to explain it from this lens. Um,
Well, and I think the video game industry is working towards games like that. So if you look at Second Son, the Second Son series on PlayStation, Red Dead Redemption had a you make certain choices, you get the good story, you make other
Oh,
choices, you get the
sure, yeah. I
bad
mean,
story.
like games have done this since like Mass
You know,
Effect or Dragon Age, Knights of the Old
not
Republic.
yeah, not really a good versus evil. Well, not really an alignment thing.
No, it's. I think that's an
But
alignment analog for sure.
yeah, okay.
In Knights of the Old Republic, it's Jedi versus Sith, and
Well,
that
Sith are just intrinsically better anyway. But
I think that if you were to pose the question to a generalized audience, that they would say Jedi sway towards lawful good and Sith sway towards chaotic evil. Um,
I think Sith could be chaotic good depending on the situation.
right. It depends on how you use that to
Right.
explain your behavior. Like you're talking about stress and Alien, and if you are very stressed out and you're making mistakes, it might be more prudent just to run away and hide.
Sure.
Which like in D&D might be neutral, chaotic evil, any other evil. Like I'm going to save myself, screw you guys.
Yeah.
But you don't describe it that way because your alignment changes so much in Alien depending on your goals and your sanity, and
Sure.
um, your alignment doesn't change a whole lot in D&D unless I'm getting way ahead of myself.
Yeah.
So we introduced the spectrum of alignment, your tic-tac-toe board, where you've got lawful good, lawful evil, neutral good, neutral or true neutral, and neutral evil, chaotic good, chaotic neutral, chaotic evil. And so if you look up, insert your favorite TV show here, alignment chart, you'll probably find one that will give you a relatable idea of what that is. Um, I think lawful to chaotic doesn't necessarily mean do you follow every single law. Um, Recently, in There Will Be Dungeons, there is some, like the latest episode, which I'm not going to spoil, but there is some alignment shenanigans going on, and one of the characters asked the DM, "Hey, if this is my case with alignment, can I?" The player asked, "Can I lie if I'm lawful good?" And it seems like the answer was no, but I would say yes, because lying isn't illegal, and it is often done. Maybe not often. It is sometimes done with good intentions.
Right. Does this
Um,
dress make me look fat?
right. Just because you're lawful good doesn't mean you have to say, yeah, what a hunk of cheese. Like,
No, because if I'm honest, I'm gonna hurt your feelings, and that'll make me right. So
that's not good. That's
that's not
pretty
good.
neutral, I think.
Um, and like I was saying, it's a compass. It's not an absolute.
Right, that needle bounces a little bit between the
Right.
things that it's near.
And I as a DM, and I'm way this is way down in the show notes, so I may hold off on this, but I have ways to deal with that as a DM, which we'll talk
Oh,
about later.
yes.
Now, now I threw an extra alignment onto the list, right? There are the 9 alignments that
Yes.
everyone knows about, and then there is chaotic stupid.
The secret 10th alignment that's
The
not
secret
so secret because most people have dealt with that.
or people play it because they write chaotic
Yes.
evil on the sheet and then they think that is a license to do whatever they want whenever they want without consequences because I'm chaotic evil. I'm the waitress. I'm gonna cut her.
You could do
Why?
this. I
You're
mean,
in
you could argue that you could do the same thing with a lawful good paladin who, I am the law, barges into a restaurant and demands service for free.
yeah. So yeah, chaotic stupid. You'll see t-shirts, there are memes, right? It's not really an alignment, it's more of a player's attitude.
Yeah, we could throw chaotic stupid on the list of player types when we do that episode.
Sure.
Um,
So for me, when I look at the chart, and again, I'm a college professor. One of the classes I teach is ethics, right? So I look at this from an ethical framework standpoint, and I look at law, and I go right to deontological ethics, and I think of Immanuel Kant, the philosopher, and if I'm a lawful character, my morality, my ethical framework is based on rules.
Yeah, your duty.
Okay. Duty, rules, moral imperatives. If I'm chaotic, I'm John Stuart Mills. I'm a utilitarian. What brings the most joy to the most people, or what brings the least pain to the least kind of people? And then neutral is that in between kind of. In this situation, law trumps the greater good. In that situation, the greater good trumps law, that kind of thing. So that's kind of where my spectrum, how I define that spectrum. And then the good versus evil, I think it's easy for me to talk about evil. That's self-centered, egocentric, hedonist. I'm looking out for number one.
Sometimes.
And I'm going to try and do what's best for me, where a more good character has empathy, right? And they have a higher calling or a greater purpose kind of thing. So that's kind of how I balance those two.
I would argue that chaos is not always utilitarian.
Okay.
And I would argue that evil is not always self-driven. More often than not, it is. But I think that some chaotic evil creatures or people, characters, are more so driven by what their evil brings about.
Okay. I can see that.
And then chaos, I view as more hedonistic, where it's more like it doesn't matter who gets hurt as long as if you're chaotic good, you could burn down half the town if it means you're going to free slaves. Like, sure, half the people aren't going to have places to live, but everyone will not be a slave anymore.
The people whose houses are burning down are the slavers who deserve it anyway. Right.
So sometimes I think
so
I'm
bringing a lot of good to the slaves, and I'm bringing some pain to the slave owners.
Yeah, chaotic good, Robin Hood.
Robin Hood, right? Chaotic good is Robin Hood.
Yep. Or Dennis Moore.
Yep. So missing from this list, and they wouldn't really give a crap anyway, are the nihilists. And this, I think, is the chaotic stupid, right? That I don't care about anything. Hey, man, we're going to go save. The orphanage is on fire. Haven't finished my beer. Whole town is going to put the orphanage out.
That's a little bit more chaotic evil.
Maybe.
Well,
yeah, probably.
You said chaotic stupid was people writing chaotic evil on the sheet?
Yes.
Or, okay. See, I think chaotic stupid is people writing chaotic neutral on the sheet.
Yeah, that could be too.
Because I'm not bad. I'm doing it because I am helping this one person. I'm doing it for the quest. Yeah, I fireball the shopkeeper. Yeah.
And then I'll save my comment. The other comment for when we talk about is neutral a cop-out.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. Unaligned creatures fall under that neutral list as well.
Do you want to save that for cop-out, or do you want to talk about unaligned creatures now?
Well, you mentioned nihilists, and
okay,
that you didn't. Well, I don't know if you said it, but it's here that you don't like neutral for animals or anything with intelligence under 4.
That's what I was going to save until the cop-out section.
Let's talk about that now, because we're already here. Yeah.
So I don't like true neutral as an alignment for animals.
It's not? Question mark?
I don't think animals have a moral compass.
Right. That's why most beasts are unaligned in 5e, at least.
Right. I would rather see an instinct mechanic instead of an alignment.
Okay.
So, and if 5e has fixed that, because in older versions of D&D, all the animals were just alignment neutral. It's a bear, alignment neutral. It's like, it's not. It's not a Buddhist. It's like following its instinct, which is
the bear's not a Buddhist. Watch
yeah, the bear's
out.
not.
It might maul you.
Right. You're near its cubs. It feels cornered. It's going to take a certain set of actions.
So
right.
I like describing animals as being, I think unaligned works, but I think alignment fluid might also work, where that bear's decisions are based on, like, it's almost entirely circumstantial. So like every round that bear goes, their alignment changes to what it needs to be for them. Like you're right, they don't have an alignment.
I'd like to actually, this is me being a little old fashioned, but I'd like to see an instinct mechanic with either a chart or a guide.
Sure.
So if I am a, instinct mammal or instinct mammal herd. So I've happened upon a herd of wild yaks, and the instinct table could be a D12, could be a D20. Give me a couple situations, unthreatened, threatened, nervous, right? Oh gosh, I rolled a 1. Stampede, right?
That would be fun.
If you're stampeding, that you're not, this one lawful good yak is going to sacrifice himself to save. No, they all stampede, right?
Right.
Mammal, predator. Okay, I go to the predator table. This is what it's going to do. Reptile, reptile. This is what a reptile is going to do. Shark, predator, fish, whatever. So
sure.
I think I kind of, I think I would like that as a GM, a DM, for more realistic animal behavior type stuff.
So I'm going to steal that idea.
Oh, thanks a lot.
Well, I'm not going to steal it because we're sort of creating it together.
Right.
But that is a pretty good suggestion for the blog, because I can totally do up some instinct tables and do a little bit of like animal behavioral research to try to have that be a little, I like that idea though.
Because if you're gonna, like, for me as a DM, again, I'm gonna look at that NPC's alignment for what's the most probable behavior in the certain situation. And so that's why I think an instinct table for a specific class of animal, I think, would help, right?
So
herbivore dinosaur. Roll on the table. They're going to keep eating because they're 900 times your mass, and they don't care about you. You munch, 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 munch.
Sure.
So.
All right. Well, see, so I want to disagree a little bit.
About what?
Because the way that you described, like looking at something's alignment and then using that to determine like what their most logical behavior would be, where I think I use alignment to describe more of the why. So a demon who is chaotic evil, who appears in the street as you and your party are holding this baby, could just kill the baby. Right?
Sure.
I think that if you were using alignment to describe what they would do, that would be their what. And their why would be because they are chaotic evil. Whereas the demon could stop the pursuers and then vanish, having allowed the child to live. And then 100 years later, right? That's the The what was not explained by the fact that they were chaotic evil, because you
Sure.
look confused.
I think so. Here's kind of how I look at this problem. The nursemaid gives the baby to the group, leads the horde of orcs on a wild goose chase, and then a demon appears. So, as a DM, I'm going to, if the demon's part of this baby's story, the demon shows up and the child is a threat to the demon's existence, or the child will be a threat to the demon's schemes in the future.
Or the child will be an asset.
Right, but in my example, let's say it's a threat, okay? So the child's a threat. Now, chaotic evil creature, that's a threat to me. It doesn't matter that they're an infant. Fry the thing, right? Fireball spell, done.
Sure.
If that, let's say that was a devil, not a demon. Okay? Lawful evil. That child is going to cause me problems. I'm not supposed to murder children. I'll murder the party protecting the child and then imprison the child someplace where it can't harm me, because killing is against the rules. Does that make sense?
Yes and no. I think we just handle it differently as DMs. But I just wanted to clarify it a little bit, because I think that there are probably many more perspectives on how to use alignment. And since there's so many different games and so many different tables and so many different DMs, maybe it's just good that people have a couple examples.
Sure.
Where you can totally use alignment for what behavior they will do, and you can use alignment for why they have done the behavior.
Right.
Which I think makes for more interesting interactions, because then the party's like, wait, why did that demon not just kill us? What's going on here? But yeah. So we jumped to it. You mentioned, is neutral a cop-out?
Oh, that was your question.
It is my question, but that's where
is it a cop-out?
We were trying to go. It's tough. I think that it is easier to play neutral alignments. I don't think it's a cop-out because of the way that I look at alignment, where a lawful good character might kill a baby and a chaotic evil character might kill a baby. It's just why versus the why in that situation for me. So whether your character is lawful good, neutral good, or evil good, or lawful good, neutral good, chaotic good, I think most people would argue it's not good to kill a baby. But again, that person is gonna, if they do that, they'll have some story reason or personal motivation, like, this was my quest, I was sent here by a deity, the child is half demon and it's gonna grow up to ruin the world. Like,
the child's half demon and of the bastard son of the king, which is against the rules of succession. So I have to take it back to hell and throw it in a pit.
Yes, because I think that it's, yeah. So I don't think neutral's a cop-out, because I think that alignment doesn't necessarily drive what actions you take, more what your character's reasoning for doing those things is.
Sure.
What about you? Is neutral a cop-out?
I think people pick neutral because they don't. So I think people gravitate towards the neutrals so that they don't get called out if their character does something funky.
Sure.
So in that respect, I think it's a little bit of a cop-out that, I'm playing a drow. If I do something kind, I don't want to get in trouble. So instead of going chaotic evil, I'm going to go chaotic neutral.
So remember last week where you mentioned the drow? I think it was last week. You were talking about your one person in your group started playing a drow, and you were he asked
Yeah.
why that guard or shopkeeper was so mean to you guys, and you were like, oh, they're humans, we hate them, they hate us. And she was like, no, he was like, no, I don't hate them. You can be like, I think that's a good example of like where I like to view alignment as the why, because
Sure.
what's the alignment of that character?
Chaotic good.
Okay, right. They probably don't hate people, even though that's
No, they
weird
didn't.
for Dolrea to hear. But yeah, I don't know. I thought of that as soon as you mentioned Drow.
Yeah, and the one thing I didn't put in the show notes, I thought really hard about it, was racism versus alignment. Because I played a lawful good dwarf cleric who was wildly racist against elves.
Okay.
Didn't like them, didn't want to be near them, didn't like their music, didn't like their food. Healed everybody in the party, even the half-elf, because by Moradin, that was his calling.
Were you lawful?
Yes.
There you go.
Lawful good.
Nice.
But you know, at it and this, we'll talk about this a little bit later. The role play after the battles were, gosh, knife ears. Why can't you? Why you gotta be so clumsy? I thought your people were supposed to. I mean, he healed him. He was nice. He did the right thing. But in the campfire after during the long rest, the dwarf's picking on the elf for, man, how many arrows are you gonna dig out of there? I healed you 5 times today because you're the worst warrior I've ever fought with because you stupid knife ear. Right? I'm sorry for the racial slurs. I apologize, but
they're fantastical. They're probably still not great, but
many, not just you, your siblings have told me fantasy racism is still racism.
I mean, yeah, no, it is.
So, it is, but that's something I don't think that we cover or that the alignment system can address.
Sure.
Right. So I just wanted to throw that out there. That hit me, and I didn't.
No, that's a good little story bit.
So, what do you think is the easiest to play?
So the way I have talked about the way that I do alignment a couple times, because that's my perspective and my way of understanding that. So I think that true neutral is probably the easiest to play, because if you're using it's the way that the universe was supposed to be, and that's what I did in that moment. I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be. I think that if you use alignment as a why, I think true neutral is probably the easiest to be able. You have a somehow more infinite number of ways you could explain why you've done something than a few of the other alignments. I think neutral good might be a second, because if you're a hero, but sometimes you gotta pick a lock or break a door, like you might not want to be so stringent on lawful, but you want to be a hero, so you pick good. One of those. What do you think is easiest?
So I think from the player perspective, if you can figure out kind of where your mind is, it's easiest for a player to play the alignment that they are in real life.
Okay, that makes sense.
So if you are, I like rules. I like following rules. Rules make me comfortable. This is my comfort space. Rules. Then play a lawful character, right?
Yep.
If you don't like rules, but you want to help, like, I don't care what the rules are. I just want to make sure everyone has a hot meal and a place to sleep in this poor village. Well, then you're chaotic good, right? It will be easier for you to play those roles. May not be as much fun because you don't get to come out of your comfort zone as a player, but I think for a player, if you kind of take the alignment quiz on Facebook or whatever, oh, hey, I'm lawful neutral. Okay, cool. Then play lawful neutral.
I think neutral also gets gravitated towards because people feel like lawful and chaotic and good and evil sort of shoehorn you into behavior, because I think more DMs use alignment as the what. So, you're lawful good. You can't punch that guy if he's complying with you. It's like, I'm not breaking a law. Like, I'm not gonna assault is probably not a thing that people get arrested for unless it turns into some bloody or violent conflict. But I'm gonna backhand the guy because he's disrespecting me. Like,
there are like, there's the law of chivalry, there's the bro code, there's lots of different laws. Like, which set applies in this situation?
Exactly. So I think people gravitate towards neutral because they read it, like you said, as sort of a freedom where they aren't gonna get called out for an action that they take because that's what they want their character to do so that they have fun at the game.
Well, and that depends on how strictly the DM is enforcing alignment.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and that's coming up later in the show.
Yeah. So what's the hardest alignment to play?
So I think for folks, the hardest alignment for most people to wrap their heads around is lawful evil.
Okay.
Like, how do I follow rules but still be evil? And it's like, well, that's devils, but then people will go, well, devils do whatever the heck they want. It's like, devils have contracts and they follow the contracts, right?
Yeah.
In the Pathfinder universe, there's a nation called Cheliacs, and they're a lawful evil nation. So they have sets of rules that benefit the aristocracy directly, and then there's lots of poverty and indentured servitude and slavery.
So it's America.
Oh, come on now. No.
Sorry, no, if you want to have that discussion, tweet at me later, but I'll keep that out of the show.
America. Don't you mess with America.
Yeah.
So I think that's the hardest one for people to kind of portray correctly, is that I'm in this for me and I'm going to use a bunch of rules to trying to make my fortune no matter who I screw over, right? Sure. And then I think the next hardest one to play is actually lawful good, because the murder hobo mechanisms and the drive to succeed, right, outweighs the I'm a paladin, I'm a cleric of Moradin, I'm here to fight orcs and drink beer and make sure my soldiers come home in one piece. But if the orcs start running away, switch to bows, fellas. It's like, well, wait a minute, they're running away. We've won the battle. Stop fighting and let's celebrate and praise Moradin and start healing people, because that guy's sick and that guy's hurt and holy crap, that guy lost an eye. Yeah, you could keep fighting, General, but we need to save these people, kind of thing. So I think it's very, people get wrapped up in the
paragon of virtue fantasy.
Sure, and every goblin is an evil goblin. So, you can kill goblins indiscriminately, even if you're lawful good. And it's like, I as a DM have trouble with that.
Sure.
Right. And if I have players who have that kind of attitude, I always send them to R.A. Salvatore's short story with Drist Dwarden when he meets Nojime the goblin who's tied up in the barn. Right, and here's this goblin who's tied up in the barn, and he's a good goblin. He's the one good goblin in all of Faerun.
There's probably more than one.
There's probably more than one, but there aren't thousands, right?
Yeah.
And this idea of we're adventurers and we're in this dangerous place and we're just going to kill It's like, I'm lawful good characters really shouldn't have that mindset,
Yeah.
right? That's where you're in a lawful neutral or even trending towards a lawful evil
All right.
mind.
I hear
So,
you. I agree with
what do
lawful.
you think?
Well, I agree with lawful good being one of the harder ones to play, especially because you go into that with. I think a lot of people, myself included, start off their lawful good career with a paladin or a cleric.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see a lot of lawful good barbarians, even though it could totally happen.
Yeah.
But you have that sort of like divine righteous sense of your character is this indefatigable paragon of virtue, and no matter what you do, as long as you're doing it for good, it's okay. Um,
Yeah,
but
see, that end justifies the means. That
yeah,
goes right into the evil category for me.
right. So I think a lot of it depends on your DM. I think lawful good is certainly one of the harder ones to actually act as. Um, and so I thought chaotic evil at first, but I have heard your case for lawful evil, um, and I'm not sure which one would be harder for folks to play. Maybe lawful evil, but I think lawful evil, and I think of a lot of real life examples of people who say, "Hey, we're doing wonderful, great things at such and such a company or such a place," and it's like, well, you're not, because you're perpetuating systems that abuse people. So I I have lots of real life examples where I would tag that lawful evil tag onto more people than I would tag a lawful good tag on. So I think
Sure.
human beings know how to be evil far more than they know how to be good. And I'm sure that that's just personal bias. But otherwise, I think chaotic evil is a harder one to play. Um, without to sorry, I think chaotic evil is a harder one to play well, in
Yes.
that it would be easy to go around punching whomever gets in your way and blowing off every quest giver and fireballing all the shopkeepers. But because I use alignment as a Y, you're not like you need a reason to be doing. Oh, I'm evil. It's like, so what are your goals? World
Right.
domination? Like, okay, then that's probably okay. But I don't know that
Well,
I've ever met
still,
a D&D character that
if your goal is world domination, you can't blow up all the shops.
you can burn it all down and start over.
Okay, if you're
But
powerful enough. But if you're a level 3 sorcerer, right?
that's that little chaotic stupid, because you don't understand the bounds of,
Right.
you're not acting within the reality of the
Of the
world.
game. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Um
when you hit chaotic stupid.
so right, I think it's hard to be chaotic evil and do so in an interesting way than to be chaotic stupid. Um
Well, I've got a guide coming up later for chaotic evil characters.
okay. I was just about to talk about my character Osric from the alt game, but if we're gonna have a little guide to chaotic evil later, we'll wait.
Okay.
Um, uh, we kind of already did these. Um, like, what's the most and least common alignments for people to play?
Sure.
I posited that I think neutral and neutral good being the easiest kind of makes them the most popular.
Yeah.
I think neutral good and chaotic good are probably the two that I see the most.
And I agree with that too.
And then I think I see neutral evil the least. Maybe lawful evil. I don't play a lot of evil campaigns anyway, so I don't see evils a lot. But if out of the few that I have, I think people want to be, oh, lawful evil, I'm a gang boss, a mobster. Chaotic evil, I'm a F everybody up. But not a lot
Yeah.
of people go for neutral evil.
No, no, and actually Del Rey gem counter is neutral evil, because she's an accountant, or she was an accountant for a drow house.
She was
So
she was an
like
accountant.
rules and forms and filling things out. She likes that. But if if you have to twist and bend a rule here and there to get what you want, okay, right? And then she's evil because, well, that's coming up next. Evil. Why do you play an evil character? And I actually have played.
Go into it. You played a bunch, so why do you
played
play
a bunch?
characters?
And here's the other thing. I play evil characters. I'm the one evil character in a group of good characters.
Mm-hmm.
And you might say, well, whoa, how does that work? Why don't they just shank you for being evil? It's like, well, A, they're goody two-shoes. So you just can't shank somebody because they don't agree with you. In general, right? Good characters aren't going to go, hey, it says neutral evil on your character sheet. I've cut you. Ha-ha. How the hell's that good? Right. And so I think when you play an evil character or when you're portraying an evil NPC as the DM, right, it isn't a license to do anything, right? Just because there's an E in your alignment doesn't mean you can cut whoever you want and poison whoever you want and steal and that kind of stuff. Your evil character, and again, for me, remember, evil for me is self-centered, hedonistic, gaining power. And what I usually do when I have an evil NPC or an evil character that needs to make a decision, I always play the with him game.
Okay.
And with him stands for what's in it for me, or what's in it for my group, or what's in it for my deity, right? Will this action make my life better, richer, entertaining? Will this action bring, right? If I'm playing a lawful evil character, and I'm part of the Thieves Guild, will this bring honor to the guild? Will this make us more money? Right? That's and then here's the important part. This is what makes it evil for me, without regard to the impact to others. Right? What's in it for me and mine, and I don't give a rat's red ass about anybody else.
Unless you're getting more than me, like, then we have an issue. But yeah, I like that. With them.
So that's with them. What's in it for me? Don't care about you. And that's kind of how in my head I frame those evil activities. Again, an evil character has, and this is, we didn't talk about 7th C 2nd edition, but the villains there's no alignment in 7th C. The players are all assumed good. You're the good guys in 7th C 2nd edition.
Okay.
And the villains are the bad guys.
Sure.
The villains, the end justifies the means. I'm going to do what I need to do for me and mine, and I don't care about you and yours. But they have a goal. They have an objective. They have something they're trying to do. It isn't just random chaos so that I can cause random chaos.
Right. Why are they villains?
Right. If I'm chaotic evil and I'm walking into a town and I'm there to F shit up, why am I doing that? Well, because I want to catch my goddess's attention so she sees that I'm powerful. Like, I could conceivably have a chaotic evil character, come into a small town and decide, when I'm done, I'm going to create a bunch of chaos and burn stuff down, and it's just going to be funny.
I will leave a wake of misery in my trail.
But I'm doing that because I don't like the people here. They're Iblith. Sorry, I shouldn't use profanity during the podcast.
Nobody there aren't enough people that speak Drow for it to worry. Yeah.
All right. I won't care about you, Iblith, then. Ha ha. But so whatever it is, like, I hate dwarves, I'm racist, and I'm going to cause problems for this small dwarven village, and then I'm going to leave. You can do that, but then as long as it's fitting into your milieu, as long as it's fitting into that objective of your character,
goals.
I think that's fine. Yeah. Right. Just looking at your sheet and going chaotic evil, boy, I better kill something. No, then you have ventured into chaos. Erase the E and write S for chaotic stupid.
Or chaotic neutral, right? You could have a chaotic neutral barbarian who's just like, I need to be covered in blood and mud. Like,
yeah,
I think 5e does a good job of, and maybe this is why I look at alignment this way for my game, in that you've got personality traits right on the character sheet. So that's sort of the what are they going to do, and alignment helps to sort of why or maybe how they'll achieve their goals.
sure.
I like that you said that any evil alignment isn't a license to do anything, because the way that I do alignment, like I said, a lawful good or chaotic evil character could punch a baby in the face, but why they're doing that is where alignment comes in for me.
See, and when I'm DMing, and this will help us segue, I would let any character do that.
Yes, but then you impose your idea of what law and chaos are, right? Because
Well,
we're gonna talk about alignment enforcement, right?
right. That's where we're headed next. So, and I don't have one set way. Okay,
Right.
some DMs have you did something that's counter to your alignment. Do a charisma save. Okay, cool. You didn't change today. I think that's a cop out. I mean, I've used it. Don't get me wrong. I've used that mechanic. But when a character does something that is marginal, right? The orphanage is burning down. Lawful good paladin, come help us put out the fire. I just bought this beautiful meal and I've been on the road for a month. I'm going to finish my meal and then I'll come help you guys. Well, what's going on?
That's not an acceptable why.
I'm really hungry.
In my game.
And there's like 50 people out there. You don't need, I'm going to finish my meal. So if something like that happened, I would let that lawful good paladin finish that dinner.
Yeah.
Right. But then he's got to, or she has to get up and walk outside to the livery to make sure that her horse is okay. And then there's the burned out wreckage of the orphanage. Well, is Justica, the goddess of justice, going to be happy with this paladin? No. Maybe not. So maybe when you go to reset your spells, yeah, sure, the player's handbook says you get to reset these spells, but oh no, my friend, you fed your fat face before you went out and helped the helpless. You don't get all of your spells. Justica is not happy with you.
See, I'd wait until they try to cast a spell and be like, you loft your holy symbol, and at this point you notice that it's cracked, or that the chain that is supposed to be stainless has begun to rust, and you suspect that you've fallen out of favor with your deity.
Yeah. I also will disadvantage for similar events to kind of this. Yep, I did this thing. I'm really, spiritually, I'm not okay with it. But I'm gonna, we're fighting and we're winning, and instead of offering the other side a merciful end to this combat, we're gonna fight to the last man. It's like, wait a minute, we're a lawful good band of dwarves, and we're gonna slaughter the enemy to the last stand. Like, we're soundly thrashing them. It's time to offer them an honorable surrender. Mm-hmm. And if you don't, okay, your next attack roll is at disadvantage because you're trying to fight. I'm trying to fight you, but in my mind and in my heart, I'm struggling. Okay. So I'm not going to be as combat effective with all of this other stuff going on inside my head and my mind.
So man, this is so tough. And alignment is one of those things that is really case by case. But I really liked the example of the paladin losing favor with their deity, I really don't like this example because as the DM, I don't impose upon characters' mentality non-magically.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think it would be fair to say you the player, your character, lawful good dwarf cleric, is struggling mentally with this decision from a moral standpoint, and thus you have disadvantage on your attack. Because if their character isn't struggling mentally, I'm not going to impose that on them.
So
And
so
if they
if
are, then like if they're audible about that at the table and are like,
right
I'm not sure if I should or shouldn't, be like, your character has
disadvantage. Yeah.
see, I wouldn't do disadvantage, but
Really?
no, because I wouldn't like at that point. I If they decided to go along with it, then I might do a fall of favor with the deity. If they continued to do a series of things like that, then I might resort to the charisma save to knock, law to
Knock them down.
neutral,
Yeah.
um, or good to neutral, because it's not illegal to run down. Like, it depends, right? Very, very much depends.
Right.
Situation, setting, character, but I really don't like to, unless it's magically, I don't, as the DM, like to impose on my players' mental states.
Well,
Um,
so as the DM, use what I would do in we'll paint the picture, right?
mhm.
You're a band of dwarves, you're fighting um,
Warg
half elves,
riders. Oh,
from a neighboring village who've been stealing beer out of your brewery, right? You found the rogues, you're fighting them. Um, they're well below half their numbers are incapacitated or slain, and you really at this point you really should. And as a DM, I would say that it's like, okay, guys, like they're fighting defensively and they're trying to run away. What are you going to do? And if they're like, we're going to kill them all, it's like, so you're lawful good. Are you serious? And if the answer is yes, then we're going to go to the charisma save and that kind of thing.
sure.
But if the answer is like, well, because a lot of players, again, like they write the alignment and then it's like, that's just one of those things I got to fill out and I'm not really worried about it. I've had that with inexperienced players.
So,
And I'll say like, okay, a lawful good dwarf, like let's talk about this situation from an ethics standpoint. And do you if you're committed to it, again, that's your character, you need to play it. But it's just like in real life, this thing is wrong, I think this thing is wrong, and then over time it's like, it's not wrong. It's um, stealing, downloading music from the internet. Yeah, that's intellectual property theft. But after watching record labels get filthy rich and forget it. I don't care anymore. I don't care that it's stealing. I'm going to steal, right?
yeah, it's an alignment change. So
That's an alignment change,
in that
right?
scenario with that new player, because I had this happen in the first like 2 months of this game, when one of our guys' wives was still playing, and she was playing a pixie, druid rogue multi-class, and her alignment at the beginning was chaotic evil because she wanted her character to be chaotic evil. And after the first 4 or 5 sessions of her character like healing people and talking to people friendly and asking if people are okay, I was like, hey, are you sure that you're evil? Like I had that conversation with her,
Right.
and she was like, well, I feel evil, but I don't really do a lot of evil things, so I guess not, no. And so we changed the alignment to chaotic neutral. But I would rather do that than try to wrestle for control of a character's mental state.
I'm not looking for control. It's more like you as the player said you want to play this character. Is that really the character you're playing?
Maybe, right?
Is that maybe that is
If I'm
control?
if I'm
Maybe I'm a little bit of a control freak.
if
I mean,
I'm
and the other thing that I'll do is you did this thing that violates your alignment. You get back to camp, you can't sleep. The
okay.
thought
See,
of
I like that too, though. That's
killing
like an
all of those
environmental.
elves, the thought of killing all of those elves, even as they cried out for mercy, it's giving you nightmares. It's keeping you up at night. You sat down for a long rest. I'm afraid, my friend, here's a level of exhaustion,
Okay.
right?
See, I like that too.
And you're not gonna sleep well until either you pray to Moradin and atone for your sins, or you do something nice for somebody, like so.
So where do you all right. So I have an example, and I would like to know if you think that it is the character changing alignments or changing perspectives.
Okay.
Right? So is the character going from lawful good to chaotic evil, or is there belief in what constitutes law and good changing? Right?
Okay.
Arthas Menethil from Warcraft
Okay.
at the Culling of Stratholme is arguably where he really starts to change. But is
Yep.
he changing alignments or is he changing perspectives, do you think?
So I think, again, this is purely my opinion,
Right, but it's good to
that
have perspectives. Like,
the culling of Stratholme is an alignment shift.
okay.
Okay? Because in the world of Warcraft, you could have put a bubble over Stratholme, a la
So
Dalaran.
imagine it from a D&D perspective, because
Okay.
obviously good and evil are pre-established in Warcraft.
In Warcraft.
Yeah.
I,
So
I,
in a more amorphous system,
I still think again, it is he saw the culling of Stratholme as the only answer to stopping the plague.
mm-hmm.
Okay, so the end, stopping the plague, justified the means.
Okay.
Okay, why did they kill? Why couldn't they quarantine Stratholme?
Maybe.
Right?
Maybe.
Um, could they? So
Uther
instead of,
wanted to try to heal people,
right,
but you
so
risk transmitting the disease.
but there were other. So I think that was the turning for me. That's an alignment shift.
Okay.
Okay, I'll just
No, that's okay
TLDR.
because I
It's an alignment shift.
I I think it's a perspective change because he within so this is where it's sort of like within that character's mental space. Arthas believes that he is following the law because he is upholding his oaths. He's protecting more of the kingdom than he is hurting. That utilitarian
Mm-hmm.
ideal. It's his duty to do so, right? So that
Mm-hmm.
it's his duty to protect the land and protect the people, um, and he's doing something good because he is eliminating evil. Like, so I think that that is a perspective change, and that throughout the entirety of his arc, he is, as he imagines himself, to be lawful good even when he is full Lich King and he is summoning hordes of undead in order to wipe the earth clean, in his head, he is lawful good. Hitler believed he was lawful good. So that's like if I have a lawful good paladin and I, run down the goblins, let's kill them all, having somebody impose disadvantage on me makes me feel like okay, but that's what's going on in my character's head. So if it does merit an alignment change, then you know I don't know. It's really tough.
And the thing is, it's very. I mean, we're talking about applied ethics, right? Which is in a specific situation with a specific set of information. What action would you take?
Okay.
Okay.
See, and I think it is, why did you take the action that you did?
Sure. Given that set of circumstances, right? So
yes.
No, if I'm a lawful good cavalier, and me and the paladin and the lawful good cleric are in the countryside and we are trying to push back the goblin horde, yeah, I'm running down every goblin I see, because every dead goblin today is one fewer raider tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And the goblins, we are in a just war declared by my king to fight the goblin horde. So yeah, no alignment shift whatsoever. I think same thing, same group. They happen upon a farmhouse where a bunch of brigands have dressed up like goblins and are thieving and pillaging, right? Once we realize they're humans and members of the kingdom, then we probably need to show them mercy and bring them before the magistrate and have them tried in a court of law, because they're they're subjects of the king and they're not goblins.
If that is the way law works in your setting.
In that setting, right.
So like with the Warcraft example, obviously within that mythos, Arthas turns chaotic evil. According to the canon, that is an alignment change. But I think that the mentality of the ownership of that character's thoughts and perspective remain his. So we're talking about alignment enforcement here, and I think that this is a good time to get in our patron question. We have a question from James K this week. Should DMs encourage alignment restrictions for a paladin that has an oath based on what that oath is and who it is with? What do you think?
So, gosh, that's a good. I am not a big paladin player.
You're a cavalier player. That's paladin adjacent.
It's paladin adjacent, and so
here we go. Von Krampus. You had an oath.
Yeah.
So Hanover von Krampus was a character that you played in a campaign that I ran for a little while.
And he was a paladin of the shield, which means he protects the little people from.
Was he a paladin or a cavalier?
He was a cavalier of the Order of the Shield.
Okay, that was a Pathfinder cavalier class.
Yes, Knight of the Order of the Shield, and the Order of the Shield protects the small folks from the predations of the environment and the aristocracy. So think Robin Hood. Okay?
Yeah.
Robin Hood-esque.
Yeah.
So should he have alignment restrictions?
Should I enforce or encourage alignment restrictions for you given that oath? If I'm the DM and you're the player.
I'm the jackass DM that's going to make you roll with disadvantage if you go against your alignment activity. So absolutely, 100%. Unless you and I had talked, and it's like, I think Von Krampus, since he was a noble, is feeling guilty inside. Like if I come to you as the player and say, I want to change my character's mental outlook, I want to change his perspective, then we have, and that's fertile ground for side quests and role play opportunities,
totally,
and that kind of stuff, right? Character development, that's all good stuff. But no, if I'm 100% on with so James, yes. If you have taken an oath with a deity, as a DM, I'm going to research that deity. I'm going to understand your oath, and if your oath is to always protect the small folks, and you topple a turnip cart on the way to market, and you don't stop and help pick up those turnips, there will be a consequence.
Okay.
Right? And that could be that the deity doesn't answer your spells. You have I toppled that cart, and that poor farmer, he turned and looked at me with those this is all the goods I have in the world, and now they're in the mud. This is all I have, and I just can't get that face out of my mind. Here's a level of exhaustion. Yes. So 100%.
Okay.
So what do you?
So I don't want to tell you that you answered the question wrong, but maybe I'm interpreting it differently. Where I would not encourage alignment restrictions for a paladin that has an oath, I would encourage oath-based restrictions. So specifically for 5e, right now I'm looking at the Paladin Oath of the Crown, for which the tenets are law, loyalty, courage, and responsibility. If law is a tenet, you should be lawful. And I agree that there should be some sort. I don't see how you could have a chaotic Oath of the Crown paladin unless there were no laws, and the ruler that you swore the crown, the sovereignty, the kingdom that you swore your oath to is supposed to be chaotic. Maybe that, again, that's like a very weird, atypical case. Something like the Paladin Oath of Devotion, where your tenets are honesty, courage, compassion, honor, duty. Duty doesn't have to be lawful, so you could be a chaotic, evil devotion paladin and make it work. It might be a little weird, but I wouldn't encourage an alignment restriction, though I might watch that early on for alignment shift to make sure that they sort of not picked the right one, but sort of made sure that they picked what made sense for the way they wanted the character to explain their behaviors.
Yeah, I don't know if I would allow an evil character to take the tenets of devotion just because of the lie and cheat.
So maybe they don't lie and cheat, but that doesn't mean they couldn't be evil. You just have to be. You can be honest and be shitty.
Yeah, that's true.
Shopkeeper, open up or I will burn down your home. I will accept no more than 20 gold for these water skins. It could, right? But you'd have to have a player that was willing to put in that much effort into adhering to their tenets and to do that. A lot of players don't want that fantasy.
And I think that's where I'm okay with the, hey, you want to be a paladin with a oath of devotion? Fine. Lawful good, chaotic good. It's got to be a good alignment. Again, as a DM, I think I'm okay with that. Now, if a player came to me and said, I've got this really cool concept, I've got this backstory, I want to do character development, I want to start in this chaotic evil mindset, and I want to get to a chaotic good mindset, yeah, we could talk. But I think prima facie, right off the face of it, no, I'd restrict the alignment.
Okay. What about Oath of Vengeance? Flip over to that one. So your tenets are fight the greater evil, no mercy for the wicked, by any means necessary, and restitution. You could be...
Oh, yeah, no, that's... Yeah, so again, I think this is kind of an oath-by-oath basis, right?
I mean, I'm sure that it is. But if you're neutral evil, Paladin of Vengeance, your greater evil could be the forces of good that threaten to seek to grow up and destroy. You could be a vengeance paladin of nature, and you grew up in a village that is subservient to a black dragon, and the dragon's like, hey, those elves are encroaching on the swamp, they're destroying nature, they are evil, we are going to destroy them.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. Yeah. So I think
That's a cool
I think
character
this
idea.
question is. I think James's question is. Yeah. So I think my answer is going to be it's based on the oath and it's based on the deity.
Okay, sure.
Right.
Yeah, because if you, yeah, there's
Yeah.
lots of pantheons and how they react to. Because if you are doing paladin magic the way that it is written, they get their power from their uh, divine source. Um, so yeah, depending on what I agree. I think it would be oath dependent
Yeah.
and maybe even
And
just
deity
case by
dependent.
case. Because I would allow a chaotic evil devotion paladin. It would just be challenging, I think. Um, but if that was the fantasy that that character wanted, see, because I'm all about rule of fun and rule of cool, where
Rule of
like
fun and rule of cool. Yep.
if
No,
that's
that's
the
fine.
fantasy that that player wants, then I will do almost anything I can to make it happen. And if for whatever reason you feel like being a chaotic evil devotion paladin, we will try. May not work out, but we will try.
Yeah.
Um, what about what about Oathbreaker? Because that's sort of the weird one.
Yeah. You guys
I think
played.
you could be any alignment. I would not impose alignment restrictions for an Oathbreaker. Because you
For an
could be lawful
Oathbreaker.
good and made one mistake, and now you're an Oathbreaker spending the rest of your life trying to attune. Like,
Sure.
or you could be like Osric, my chaotic evil paladin, who has sworn away the gods and laws of the men who taught and failed him. um. All right. Where's I mentioned Osric. Where do you want to do the how to be a good evil character bit?
So we can do that. I mean, because I've already talked a lot about realistic behaviors based on alignments,
Okay. Yep.
right? We've covered that a lot. Like if you are a, and again, it's very situationally dependent, but lawful good characters traditionally need to listen to pleas from combatants for mercy, right? Traditionally, in most settings,
Yes.
I'm fighting you. We're in a combat, and you drop your weapons and say, "Please, please, I've had enough."
Yes. In most settings, a lawful good
Right?
character. Yep.
Should stop. Right? So yeah. So I wrote here. I kind of put this in here as kind of beyond alignment for me. So when I'm thinking of a playing an evil character, actually, when I'm thinking about playing any character, um, I do a little bit more thinking. I do a I do the thought experiment that I've got here. Then I'll walk you through what I did,
Sure.
and we'll see if this helps Osric or not. So I play a lot of Drow characters.
We
Drow
know,
characters
Hank.
traditionally are chaotic evil, and so I look at the cultural and social norms of that group, almost like an anthropologist. I'm not an anthropologist, but I look at it like an anthropology study
Yeah, through that
um,
lens.
through that lens. So I look at the religion of Lolth, right? And I'll leave gender out of it. We know that females are the greater species and males are just garbage, but we'll set that aside. Um, and I think so. If you were following this religion, and I'm not going to use good and evil and right or wrong. I'm going to talk about morally correct and morally incorrect
Per that lens.
per that lens.
Okay.
So morally correct, if you are a stringent followers of the teaching of Lolth, based on the canon that we've talked about for Faerun and Ed Greenwood and R.A. Salvatore, Lisa Smedman, yada, yada, yada,
Yeah.
right? It is morally correct to amass power, right? Because the faithful of Lolth show their devotion by becoming more and more powerful, which makes them more and more useful to the demon queen of spiders.
Makes
So
sense.
morally correct, power equals favor. So amassing power is correct.
Yep.
Now, the means are irrelevant so long as you amass power, right? That's again, that's if you look at all the source material. And then what good is power if you don't use it? So using power is a display, again, morally correct to show that you have this power for the goddess to take notice of you. So using power is pleasurable, and demonstrating power by torturing another person or committing acts of debauchery, right? That's all good, morally correct, right? I'm not supposed to be using that word good.
Right.
It's all morally correct for this.
For a worshiper of Lolth.
Of Lolth. So then what's morally incorrect? What would be things that diminish my power?
Okay.
Mercy, kindness. Charity is probably the worst sin in this mind space, because if I give you charity, I'm robbing you of the ability to amass power for yourself and show that you are morally correct in the eyes of Lolth. Right? I've robbed you of your chance to take power because I've given you something for free.
All right.
Okay? So mercy would be weakness. If I have power over you and I show you mercy, why would I do that? Why wouldn't I demonstrate my power by being powerful? Trust would be foolishness. Why would I'm amassing power to be number one in the eyes of the goddess. You are amassing power not to help me. We shouldn't trust each other. That's why trust is actually the drow word for trust is always spoken as a sarcastic tone, right? So we have this religious tradition based on amassing personal power without regard to rules or empathy, and to other people outside of this culture. What is that? Chaotic evil.
Well, to some other people, right?
Right. So that's kind of when I play an evil character, right? I run through that kind of thought exercise, so that I can kind of feel out, is this the right alignment for me? And then, yes, it says chaotic evil on my sheet, and so I'm in a bar, right? And the waitress brings me my drink, finally, and I cut her with a poison dagger. Not enough to hurt her, but she's going to die of that poison. Well, it's drow poison. So she's going to fall asleep in about 3 hours, and then I'm going to go find her and give her what for, right? Probably skin the bottom of her feet. Just to show that Iblith what's what. Now, and right, we talked about chaotic stupid, and you might say, well, geez, Jack, you just did this whole rail against chaotic stupid, and now you're talking about poisoning this girl and cutting the soles of her feet off.
But you
what the hell are you doing?
You have done your work to prepare to explain
she
that.
brought me my drinks late and warm, and I'm going to show her my power and show the goddess that I am not to be trifled with. Okay. But again, I'm not going to try to slice her open in a crowded bar. I'm going to slice her with that drow sleeping poison. Probably try to make a stealth roll to not get caught doing it, because getting caught is stupid, right? That's something we didn't put in my thought experiment here, but that's one of the other things you'll see in a lot of the Drist books. If you can do evil, you can do whatever you want to amass power, just don't get caught. Right? Sure. Deception is also one of their power, and deception are kind of their central tenets. So yeah, and at that, but I've done, like you said, I've done my homework. This character is going to take this action. It's going to be in keeping with this chaotic evil mindset. The people in my party traditionally, especially in my current situation, my characters will often excuse themselves. I have to go to the bathroom, um, which I know a lot of times in D&D games, people ignore things like I need to take a leak or that kind of thing.
Yep.
My characters very often uh, use bodily functions to move away from the party and do something that they know will be questionable to the other folks. Now, I'm not doing that. Again, I'm not doing that for their feelings. I need those schmoes to adventure with because I'm a bard, right? So I
Yeah.
need my tank and I need my healer and I need my magicians, right? I'm a support character class. I can't do it alone, so I need them. So I need to keep them in the dark for the things that I know are going to trigger their, oh, you're a goody goody two shoes snowflake, and why you can't cut the souls off of that poor waitress? How's she going to make a living? It's like, I don't know, but once her souls grow back, maybe she'll bring her drinks faster.
So, you have built your drow characters and a little bit of Dolrea around the canon of Lolth, right? So like
Yes.
you have a well-established way to look at that and set of rules for that. And I'm thinking about this for my Oathbreaker Paladin Osric.
Mm-hmm.
He he does not, I don't want to say doesn't believe. I'm sure that he perhaps believes or understands that deities play a role in the world. But he doesn't give a damn because everything that he learned about the deity that he studied when he was going to become a real paladin was wrong for him.
Right.
So he doesn't, everything he does is to serve his purposes, which
Sure.
are enacting justice on the people that wronged him for the name of him and his family who were killed. So I'm going through your thought experiment here. Things that would be morally correct for Osric to do would be things that, well, in his current situation, getting back to his world is number one.
Okay.
Knowing that it is, because if he can't enact his justice, then his life is worthless. It's as worthless as the people. Like, he might as well just go be with his family.
Right.
So he wants evidence that that is possible and is fighting to be free. He is very about self-preservation. He doesn't care for power or money or items. Like, none of that matters. Everything for him is, can I hurt the people who hurt me?
Sure.
Is that too shallow? Is that where I'm going wrong, where I don't have that degree of stuff? Because like every time we clear a room, the bugbear and the half-orc are like, oh, we're gonna loot the bodies, and every time Osric has this vial of perfume that he smells before and after every fight, so he smells that and then walks off. Like, he's not waiting for them. They are slow and want to be here and are greedy because they want gold, and gold just builds kingdoms, which kings use to kill innocent people. So he has none of that. But that I don't know. Maybe I'm just not sure what I need for him. We talked about him a little bit. I don't know if it was last time or episode 5, but um, the party doesn't like him, I don't
Hmm.
think, and he doesn't like them at all. But I don't know. Maybe I am treating my alignment the way I would think of alignment, and not the way you would, or perhaps my DM would.
Hmm.
Because I'm using a lot of the 5e stuff where like his personality traits are that he doesn't put any faith, trust in divine beings, and those that deem innocents should be killed shouldn't be in charge. He refuses to talk about what haunts him, even though anyone can see that something does, because he is just like visibly, permanently, emotionally damaged by what he has seen, and that's part of his haunted one background. Um, his ideals are that he has a dark calling that puts him above the law. The law has failed me and my family, and I no longer care for order of any kind. His bond is that there's evil within me. While I attempt to keep it at bay, I know that someday the rage will break me. He's frustrated that he can't enact his justice, so I think maybe next level I'm going to start multi-classing him into Path of the Ancestral Guardian Barbarian. I talked about that a little bit, where my guardians are going to be my family, like from Harry Potter.
Yeah, yeah.
And his flaws are that he talks to spirits no one can see, and it's hard for him to be quiet because he's muttering to himself and constantly like kind of talking to his family, and I'm gonna make it better. It's gonna be okay. Screw these
So
guys. Like,
so it
if you had a tip to help me either play him, I don't know. I think I'm playing him well. I think
so
maybe it's just the setting.
having played with you, I'm fairly certain that you are playing because you're also a little bit of a method actor.
And I'm a
Um,
little bit of a breaker. I'll admit it. Like, Osric
so
doesn't want to be in the labyrinth, and I
right,
built him like that. So I built a character that doesn't want to be in where
and
he is.
and this is a challenge for a DM because it's a group game,
Hmm.
right? Um, if this was a movie or a Netflix series or whatever, right? I think the viewers wouldn't be surprised if Osric, like, okay, cool, we just fought all these guys, and wow, look, there's cupboards and cabinets, and we're gonna take a long rest here, and we're gonna look through all this shit, and Osric would be like, I'm out. Like I'm done. I'm
So,
going down this hall, and if you're not behind me in 10 minutes, the next time I see you, I'll run my sword through you, and it turns into a solo campaign.
so I did that episode, like the first session that we played after I want to say it was after the first room that we fought things in. Osric used his lay on hands to heal him up for the hit that he was taken, and
Yeah,
he marched on into the next room. And the other two were like, "No, we're staying here. Like, we're gonna take a short rest." And Osric, under his breath, is like, "Worst half orc I've ever known. Like, I knew half orc children that worked harder than you." And so he walks into the next room and gets knocked unconscious by a set of living armor. And the living armor goes back to its pre-triggered state, and he
yeah.
succeeds on his death saves, and he starts to sort of crawl out of there, and he manages to like sneak back to the stairs, where he begrudgingly takes a short rest anyway. But um I did
But
that.
so for
It's just
this
hard.
character, are you looking for the party to help draw that character out? Like, so you as the player, where are you taking that character, and does your DM know where you want to go?
um So my DM probably doesn't actually, because there's not a lot of RP or character development in this campaign.
Okay.
We knew that sort of from the start, that it was going to be like, we're going to play this when we can't play the main game, and it's going to be a dungeon grind. And so we do a little bit of RP and interaction between rooms that we're in, but like the most of that we've done, we hit like the shopkeeper room, and so the bugbear and the half orc are like talking to the shopkeeper while Osric is on a knee, perfume in hand, trying not to murder this greedy capitalist. Like, and uh, it was suggested to him that this person was, not able to be fought. So he just stewed a little bit.
Sure. I mean
but
that could be an entire.
Sorry, I didn't answer the question. He wants to get out of the labyrinth, and he has been told by the wizard who brought him here that if they get far enough into it, he'll send them home. So that's why he is going forward, and that's what he's motivated by. He wants to get out, and he is resentful that the people who are with him do not also seem to want to get out as bad as he does.
Gotcha.
And he, maybe suspects that they're in on it. He already doesn't like them because they pick up gold, which he thinks is greedy. And yeah.
So, I mean, we could actually have a show about how to DM broken parties. This sounds like a borderline broken party to me.
It's not.
Okay.
And we haven't played it that many times. I think we've had 3 sessions in the alt game total. So, there's still room for that a little bit. But yeah, I don't. We'll see. I'll keep talking about him. Evil is tough. I think that your questions have led me to believe that it may not be an alignment issue, and maybe just more of a, like, I don't want to say DM issue because he does a good job, but like an issue with my character and the world, perhaps the setting. Like it's the wrong character for the setting.
Right. That's what I'm thinking, is that your character. This sounds like the kind of character that might be good for a extended campaign where there's lots of role play.
Yes.
Right. Because again,
John wants to play Osric, but
John
Osric
wants to play Osric, and right. If I was your DM, I would say, so what's success look like in the Osric storyline? Like, is this a horror film slasher? He gets revenge and he sits in a bathtub of the blood of his enemies. Is this he meets a love interest on the way who changes his heart, and now this is a redemption story? Like, it's almost like a 7th Sea kind of conversation where, like, where do you want this guy to wind up?
Sure.
And if the answer is I don't know, well, then let's let him stew for a while as a character and see what happens. But then eventually we're going to have to find a story arc that makes sense, because a character like that, I'm not saying that this is happening, but a character like that can make the rest of the party really uncomfortable and not have a lot of fun.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is why I threw out broken party, the broken party term, because if you have a character like that, right? And I'm aware of that too, as I play my evil characters with groups of good characters. Like, I don't want every single end of fight sequence to be an argument about who lives and who dies.
Sure.
Right? Or I don't, like, we found a Kenku and we tied him up. Hold person, tie him up. Cool, he's tied up, he's immobile. Hey, Paladin, take a walk. Paladin paladin, warlock, and fighter. I need you guys just to walk down the hall for a little bit. Go in the other room, see what's in there. Or, oh my gosh, I forgot this thing back in the tavern. You run back and grab it for me.
Yep.
Well, Miss Del Rey, we can't leave you alone. I'll be, and she's pulling out a dagger. She's like, I'll be fine, right?
Yep.
And they come back, and his lower beak is missing, and he's missing feathers, and he's missing an eye, and he's sobbing inconsolably. But Del Rey knows where we have to go next. And they're like, so what are we going to do with him? And it's like, don't worry. It's like, what did you do with him? Don't ask.
Don't ask. Don't ask, don't tell.
Don't ask, don't tell. The poison, he won't suffer for much longer. Come on, fellas, let's go. And
no, but that's great though. And I think that this has helped me identify that it is not an alignment issue. I think Osric is a good a well-designed chaotic evil character. But that just may be wrong for the setting.
Yeah.
Man, alignment. Who knew? I feel like every time we get to the end of an episode, we could just keep going for hours. And we may need to do a future episode on alignment if it continues to come up and we want to talk about other things. But
I think I would, instead of doing one on alignment, I think I would rather do one on matching your alignment, which we've talked about a lot, with your deity or religious traditions.
Okay.
Because I think that's a hole that doesn't get filled a lot in a lot of games.
So that might be a...
I'm a chaotic evil drow. Okay, cool. So, what are you doing? Oh, I'm going to clean up these spider webs. No, my friend. Oh, right. I'm a cleric of Moradin. Okay. What are you doing? I'm going to take a nap. You're going to take a nap? There's a forge right down. You can hear the ringing forge, and you're going to sleep instead of going and doing some metal work? What kind of cleric of Moradin are you? That kind of matching up those kind of religious traditions with your alignment and your character's outlook. I think that that helps you play your alignment because you have more of those ingrained, again, you think of the real world. Hey, I'm a Seventh-day Adventist. It's Saturday. What are you doing? Oh, I'm going to church, right? And I'm going to sing this song, and I'm going to, right? In the real world, you have certain rituals that you accomplish for spiritual wellness.
Sure.
And I think a lot of D&D characters just like, again, not being judgmental, but I think there are a lot of people out there that just pick an alignment. They flip through the player's handbook. They find a deity that has a cool name, a name they can pronounce with that alignment, and they write that down, and that's done.
Sure. Yeah, I think that could be a good, and falls in the category of talking about player background, maybe like world building, maybe like deep dive into character development. But that is going to wrap it up for alignment. Unless you have any final thoughts. I think that was hopefully pretty good. I think we introduced it.
I think so.
Talked about evil for a long time, which is good.
Yeah.
Answered our patron question.
We did.
And you helped me solve my Osric dilemma. So that's going to do it for Set the Table episode 7. Thank you for listening. If you would like to comment on the show or ask a question, please tweet at me at jmskoda5 or at Red Hoodie Games. You can also shoot us an email to jmskoda52@gmail.com. You can find alternating content for your tabletop games. We do this show one week, and then the next week I'll post something on the blog. The blog is at redhoodiegames5.wordpress.com. And finally, if you would like to support us any more than just watching, head on over to patreon.com/Skoda. That's Skoda. and anything that you do to support us is awesome. So that has been another episode of Set the Table, and thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Good day.